Hello everyone, thanks for coming. We're so happy you could enjoy this special day with us. During our engagement, we received lots of thoughts and ideas from all of you about our wedding.
Lexi gave us the idea to incorporate some elements into our wedding that help you guys leave knowing us both individually a bit better.
Together, we made this video with the hopes to achieve that.
This movie starts with some childhood stories from our parents before transitioning to a segment about both of us and our individual interests, and then lastly ends with a look at our relationship over the years.
Well, Lindsay started out, she went to preschool, Trinity Church. They had preschool. And so she went there. She didn't really talk only to the teachers. The whole year, never talked. She was very shy, didn't say much. And at the end of the year, they were going to have a play. And Lindsay decided she wanted to be in the play. And the teacher said to Lindsay, "You're going to have to talk." And Lindsay says she knew it. And so when Lindsay did talk, one little boy said to the other boy, "Hey, I told you she could talk and you said she couldn't talk." She went the whole year without talking to the kids. The thing is still now, when she has something to say, she'll say it. If it's important, she might not yell it out, but she's gonna say what she needs to say.
She always loved art. That was one of the main things that she would do in her childhood, whether we were painting rocks, whether we had these little bead things that we put on, like I still have one on my lunch pail, so I know that it's mine. She would draw pictures. In elementary, there was art club that you could stay after school for, and they painted tiles that went on the ceiling, and her tile is still on the ceiling in the elementary school, and so I think she always had a love for art. About 11 o'clock at night, and I went up to check on Lindsay. She looks up at me, gets this huge smile on her face. I said, "Lindsay, what are you still doing awake?" She said, "Mom, I'm just thinking." And in my head I'm thinking, you're less than 3 years old. What in the world are you thinking about? What could you be thinking about? So I said to her, "Lindsay, what do you think about?" "Oh, things, just things," with a big smile on her face. "Just thinking, Mom." As normal as could be.
So when Lindsay was young, one night we went for a walk, and it was Sue, me, and Lindsay. We were down on Fair Street, just past my parents' house, and something happened that Lindsay was not happy about, and she decided she didn't want to walk with us anymore. So she squatted down. So being the parents that we were, we decided to keep walking, figuring that she would follow us. So we walked a little bit and said, "Lindsay, we're leaving. We're leaving, Lindsay." Didn't budge Lindsay. So we walked a little farther. We were a little ways away from her then. And we said, "Lindsay, we're leaving ya." That didn't budge Lindsay. So Lindsay was kind of stubborn there. And she was right in front of a driveway, which really got me up, anxious. And we had to come back and convince her to keep walking with us. So she's still stubborn. But now it's called perseverance, because when she has a problem or something that she has to solve, she's diligent and she's not letting up until she solves it.
Pete used to buy these things called brain teasers, and so you could get certain grade levels or whatever, and they had questions from all different areas like ELA, math, science, or whatever. I would say Tyler was probably in 1st or 2nd grade, which would have put Lindsay in kindergarten and Catherine still not in school. So one day we're at the dinner table, which was our normal time where we would ask these questions. Tyler usually, because he was the oldest, maybe. I don't know if that's why, but usually he shouted out the answers first. Well, this one particular night, he didn't know the answer. And all of a sudden there chimes in Lindsay as she's eating, just kind of casually told the answer. I don't even remember what the question was. She just said the answer and then just went on going. Pete and I looked at each other and go, she does know something. She isn't a dummy, because we thought with her not saying much, that we were really wondering if she was understanding things or not. It was very clear from that point on that she knew exactly what was going on, just whether she wanted to share it or not.
That's funny.
I enjoyed coaching both girls in basketball and watching my son play basketball and all the sports. We enjoyed, we go from one sport to the next. They were all 3-sport athletes, and we enjoyed all the time we had with sports and being with them and watching their games, and in my case and in Sue's, coaching them in basketball.
Yeah.
So
Probably one of the first coaching experiences we had was Little League baseball. So Little League, when Lindsay was going through, it was co-ed, boys and girls. There were 4 teams in this one particular summer that were in her league. I don't think we won one game during the regular season, so it came time for playoffs. We ended up getting in the finals, and Lindsay was the winning pitcher.
it was the greatest sports upset ever. Us winning. We would get beat by 20-some runs every game. I coached against your mother when she was in high school.
Yeah.
So one of the first races we went to Letchworth, she recognized me, and of course I'm just geared in the race. And she said who you were, and of course she was a really good player, and I remember her being a really good shooter. This was before you were dating, and I believe, and she said something about your daughter runs. I said, yeah, we're going to see what she can do here. It's a good competition. And her son runs. I said, oh, will he do good? And she said, well, I don't know about that. He says, well, of course, Matt threw up during the race, but we didn't know who he was at that time. It was just nice of her to recognize me and say hi to me, and that had no inkling what would happen a couple years later. One day, Lindsay's in college. She had a date with some guy.
Oh, me?
Over the house. Yeah. And in comes Matt in some old truck with a bike in the back or something. And of course she came home, and I didn't dare ask any questions, so I didn't. I'm not nosy or anything like that, but I care about my daughter. I'm wondering who this guy is. And we had the computer on, and I'm thinking, this guy must be from the track team or the cross-country team. That was my thinking. So I got up their pictures on the website, and I'm looking at the pictures, and I couldn't find who it was. I'm going, wait a minute, it's got to be from the track team. Well, the problem was Matt had some growth around his, like Abe Lincoln at that time. And so I'm looking, and I couldn't picture him, but on the picture it didn't have that on there. So I couldn't figure out who it was. Then Lindsay was going to get an award at Alfred, and she said, Dad, you can come if you want. So I went, and we're in the auditorium, and I walked down there. I got there early, though us old people, we get there early because you're supposed to be there early. And sit in the 4th row in the 3rd seat, and then I moved over to the 4th seat, give her a little more room when she sat by me. And down the aisle comes this guy, and I said, that's the guy that she was with. And he comes down, and he sits in the 3rd row right in front of me. I think he's in the 3rd or 4th seat, right in front of me. And I'm going, oh dear. And Lindsay wasn't there yet. And I'm going, oh dear, is that the guy? And so this girl was 3 or 4 seats from Matt. And she says, hey, look at this. She's looking at the program. And it had in the program that Lindsay won an award. And she said, look at this. And Matt looked, Matt didn't know anything about it. And the girl says to Matt, what, she didn't tell you? And she says, that's awful. And Matt says, I don't care, I don't care. And so next thing I know, I see Lindsay walk down. And I'm thinking, oh, that poor guy. He's going to be so crushed when Lindsay comes and sits by me and not him. And what happens? She walked by mine and went in and sat next to Matt. And then after about a minute, she turned around and said, oh, hi, Dad, how you doing? And I was like in shock. I'm saying, what is this? She's supposed to sit by me. She's sitting next to Matt. So she got the award, and I met Matt. That was the first time I met Matt, and we didn't really have time to talk, and got introduced, and that was the first time I met Matt.
Yeah, she didn't even mention that you were coming to that. She just said, you know, if you ever meet my dad, tell him you like his green beans.
I always felt Matt was just a ton different than any child I'd ever met to that point. Of course, you know, when you're raising your own child, it's your first experience. But like, he always struck me as being really, honestly, so kind and engaging. And like, we'd go out to restaurants and he'd want to be with other people. He'd gravitate to other tables, and he'd be, you know, sitting with other people.
He did. We were having ice cream. He just went over and sat at another table, and we're like, they're like, no, it's okay. He just sat down, started talking with him.
I don't know how to explain it, but not self-conscious about himself in the world, just happy to be part of it, you know.
He had classic events in his life, and normally he would start a conversation with whatever that big event was. Like he got a new pair of shoes, or, you know, something happened that was big in his life, and he'd just come in and say, hey, see my new shoes?
Yeah, that was his social starter for conversation. Well, this isn't a real positive story from a parenting point of view, but so Matt, we had a motorcycle. Matt was often allowed to sit up on the motorcycle.
There's another one. Okay, sitting on the motorcycle.
Yeah. And so he was probably about this size, you know. He was maybe a little bit older than that, but pretty young. And I had him in the driveway while I was mowing the front lawn, and I had the bike on the center stand, and he was sitting up there. Now his feet were, you know, a long ways from the shifter, and he had no ability to make that thing move. And I'm mowing, so, you know, the mower is loud, and he's sitting over there, and he's looking fine, everything's good. And then I hear something, and I'm like, what is that? Is there somebody coming up the road? And then I realized I had the key in the motorcycle. He had started the motorcycle, and he was winding it out. I'm like, oh, I'm terrible. We had that concrete pad off the back of the house, and he would be out there with just a battery-powered four-wheeler for hours, spinning around, plowing. He'd have some plow situation set up on the front of it, and he was plowing.
And he could back it up and park it a couple inches on either side and never touch a thing. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He rode things early on in life.
The dirt bike up at the old house, that first 50,
yeah,
he was going to be allowed to have a dirt bike. We would support that once he was off training wheels on a regular bike, and then all of a sudden, like, that happened overnight. And he was, so he'd ride that dirt bike around the yard endlessly.
Hours.
Yeah. Wouldn't matter the conditions, he'd be out there in the winter riding around the yard if he could. It might sound like he was obsessive compulsive with bikes. He was obsessive with bikes, but he was also, you know, like most kids, but probably even more so, just interested in learning new things and experiencing new things. And he liked to be outdoors. He loved, you know, doing the trails with us and
playing in creeks. Loved playing in creeks.
Yeah, he was a hole digger. He loved digging holes. He still loves digging holes.
So we had a campfire once. This is actually kind of sad, and there were little toads jumping around, and one jumped in the fire and Matt about lost his mind. He's like, why did he do that? He was so upset. He was crying. Oh, it's so sad. But that's because he loves his animals so much.
Kind of prepping a soccer season, and he's probably in 9th grade or 10th grade. We're up to school, and I didn't get talking about racing, and I'm like, yeah, well, someday you'll be able to beat me in a foot race. And he's like, what are you talking about? I can beat you in a foot race. So I was sure he couldn't, but yeah, he smoked me. Oh, yeah, the soccer one.
Yeah, that was his junior year.
That was a playoff game, overtime. It's another one that we have a good photo sequence of how it went down.
Yeah, you were actually taking pictures of that.
And if you look at these pictures, you'll see he's kind of running the right side. Jesse Zintox carrying the ball up the left side and dumps it over. And it was a really tense and exciting game anyway. It was really a close game. It was a super, obviously important game. And he just got a foot on the ball, caught the keeper out of his position a little bit, got a foot on it, one-timed it in. And then just watching him celebrate afterward and then run and jump into Tanner's arms.
That was awesome.
That was a really exciting moment. It was really fun.
Yeah. Oh, and track, and then all the track stuff. I think the thing about track was that he liked so much was it was just I don't know. It was like they were all like family. It was just kind of a real social and good vibe about the whole track thing. And he had a couple guys on the track team that kind of mentored him that really I think made an impact on his life, and so that was really cool too.
I was with him during his first backflip skiing, and I went out to film him at a jump at Kissing Bridge, and so we went down and looked at the jump and stuff, and I was just really impressed with how much analysis was going into it for him. He was really thinking it through, and because he hadn't done many backflips at this point, he was just really wanted to make sure it was right. Then went down, came back down again, looked at it, and then he was ready, and I was able to, get him doing a backflip, which was pretty cool. Yeah, he's never been a person to get too upset or uptight about things. He's
even keel.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you got that from you.
He always sees the good.
Yes.
Always sees the good. When people complain about something or someone, he's always the one, well, but you don't know, it could have been this, and they're just, no matter how bad or whatever something is, well, you just don't know, could be.
I think he's just really good at finding, like you said, the good in people, but just joy in living in general, He's he's a happy person, and things just don't push him over the edge too often.
This seems to happen quite a lot. The stars align and then they drop. Within this space I come undone. Between our fingertips not reaching. If we could only be alone together. If we could only be alone together. The universe and all it knows. The wake of storms and foamy billows.
It's his birthday cake.
Two shores still meet beneath the sea. And waves collapse in heats of unsuffering. If we could only be alone together. And if we could only be alone together. Break the opposition by giving up the fight. I'll fix you up a lemonade at home. Truth, it might be scary when silence mounts its steed. Imagine spaces traveled without us. If we could only be alone together. If we could only be alone together. If we could only be alone together. If we could only be alone together.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks to our parents for their willingness to be part of this video and all their help with the wedding. Additionally, thanks to everyone who contributed to our special day.
Lastly, we want to thank all of you because you've all had an impact on both of our lives through the years and shaped us into the people we are today.
We love you!
We love you all!